On this week's episode, we discuss, is the start to the Lakers season fool's gold? What will the return of LeBron mean? And we'll take a quick peek at the rest of the month for the Lakers and see how we think they might finish off the month of November. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Matter of Stats podcast. AT with you as always. Thank you guys for tuning in. I want to remind you, of course, to please check us out on all your platforms. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel and give us all the likes and thumbs up, and we appreciate it. And that's what drives us to come back every week and give you great Laker content and our humble opinion on what we think may or may not happen in the land of Lakers. All right. So since we last chatted, the Lakers have had not the greatest week of all time. They had a couple blowout losses. They got smoked in Atlanta. They struggled mightily against the Thunder, which is a little bit to be expected. Suddenly that super hot, terrific start that we were buzzing about, Luca, Reeves, joking around, dropping 60 a night. All of a sudden now, the Lakers start to the season, maybe not as rock solid as we thought, right? Is it a mirage? Is it for real? Did they take advantage of just some teams, missing star players? Minnesota one win without Ant. They were able to, squeak by against the Spurs. Couldn't take advantage of an Atlanta team that had basically their whole team out. Obviously we talked about the loss in Oklahoma City. That was ugly, but Oklahoma City was down a couple starters. They've lost to Portland once. It hasn't been maybe as rosy as we would have thought. But as we chat right now, the Lakers are 9-2. They did defeat the lowly Pelicans, also shorthanded, right? No Zion, no Jordan Poole. And so not great, not bad, but it starts to make you wonder, okay, is this start to the season really as good as we thought? How good is this team? Because they had a quiz, right? I want to call it a quiz against the Spurs, took care of business. They had their first real test of the season against the Thunder, flunked it miserably, right? They've had a couple of nice wins, like we said, a couple wins against Minnesota, albeit one without Ant, right? But some bad losses. Portland, not a great team. They lost that game at home. The Atlanta loss, really, really a poor loss. Atlanta had no starters in that game, and the Lakers just were not into it from jump. And we've talked about the defense so far this season, the last couple episodes. The defense clearly not getting better. In fact, coming into the game against the Pelicans, the Lakers were the only team in the Western Conference in the top nine. So the top nine teams in the West, and the Lakers were the only team with a negative point differential, right? So that means they're giving up more points than they're scoring. Now, miraculously, they're still above 500, right? 9-4 is not a bad record. So they're playing. The record makes it seem like the Lakers are playing, I think, better basketball than what you might actually get on the eye test. The Lakers are outscoring teams, but they are not stopping anybody. The perimeter defense is a problem, but the interior defense, I think, has been an even bigger issue. As well as DeAndre Ayton has played, right, at times, especially offensively, he's not a threat defensively. He's not an interior presence. Neither is Jackson Hayes. Even the third biggest body on the team, technically right now, Rui, is not a defender. So you're talking about three of the Lakers' biggest players that really provide no interior threat defensively. And then when you couple that with the fact that Luca and Reeves are obviously going to be on the court most of the time as the backcourt players, they don't provide any perimeter defense either. So you're talking about Marcus Smart and some variation of Vando, and that's it. That's your defense. That is the Lakers' defensive backbone, those two individuals. And at times last year, LeBron was one of the best defenders on the court. So that in and of itself, we talked about a couple weeks ago, is kind of a scary proposition when you think the near 41-year-old guy who hasn't played all season is going to have to come back and resurrect this defense, right? Like he's going to be the guy out there running around, chasing down guys, blocking shots, taking charges. I don't know. That just sounds a bit risky on all kinds of levels, especially when he's coming off an injury, right? And he's going to be 41 years old. But that's the makeup of this roster right now. So, we talked about, you know, is it fool's gold? Maybe, that's a little bit, too much. But I think it's fair to make the point that the Lakers start has been somewhat good, somewhat bad, somewhat dictated by fortune and um, opportunity, right? And they've taken advantage of some of those opportunities and they've failed on some of those opportunities. But it's pretty clear that the defense is going to have to improve if this Laker team is going to continue to stay above 500 and stay in the upper echelon of the Western Conference, because you got a lot of teams that are pretty comparable, a lot of teams that are good. OKC right now, the gold standard, but Denver's really good. Obviously, the Spurs are off to a good start. The Rockets have a lot of talent. So the West, of course, we know is tough. But the Lakers defense is going to they're going to have to figure something out, because there's no way you can have a negative point differential and remain above 500 in this Western Conference. So it brings us to the idea of offense is great, the defense is poor. Now, what happens when Mr. LeBron James returns? It was reported that he's very close to returning, right? He started practicing. There's some speculation that he could return sometime next week, possibly even at home against the Jazz. And we talked, last week about kind of where his slice would fit in, right? Where his piece of the pie would fit into the mechanism of the Lakers as they're currently constructed and how everybody's been producing. But defensively, can he really make an impact, right? Last year, he did. He was pretty good defensively at the age of 40. What is he going to bring to the Lakers? Well, he's going to bring some obvious stuff, right? He's going to help with the ball handling. He's going to help with the playmaking, leadership. He can score still, even at his age. Of course, he can still score at a high level. But is it crazy to say that the Lakers might actually need LeBron James to come in and play defense, to actually be the 41-year-old defensive stopper? It sounds crazy, right? But could his biggest attribute to this team be his ability to hopefully help this defense that right now just looks sort of very spread out, very disconnected at times, and it seems like they give a lot of free passes to the paint, a lot of easy buckets. And they just, even against the bad teams, I mean, they're still giving up, what they give up in Charlotte, 111 points, right? To a Hornets team that had no LaMelo. So, as crazy as it is to think, if LeBron returns, even next week, is he going to be called upon to be the defensive anchor at 41 years old? Because you start to look at this roster, and even by default, you start to go down the list, and God, he might be the third or fourth best defensive player on this roster. As scary as that sounds, he might actually be one of the three or four best defensive players still on this roster as it's currently constructed. Hell, he might even be one of the most athletic players still left on this roster, because we know this team lacks defense and it also lacks athletes. Even at 41, he might be one of the better athletes on this team. So, and I think defense and athleticism kind of go hand in hand because they feed off of each other. And those are two of the Lakers' biggest deficiencies, and it's pretty obvious in what we see on the product on the floor. But it's going to be interesting if LeBron returns next week, or even if it's a little bit, a couple days after that, a couple games after that. It's going to be interesting to see how they insert him into this lineup and how the coaching staff really works him on both ends of the court. That being said, we want to take a quick peek about the rest of the month of November, right? The Lakers record currently, like I mentioned, 9-4, not terrible. But they had a couple, really should be 9-2, in my opinion. They had a couple bad losses in there, but that's neither here nor there. The rest of the month shapes out fairly positive for the Lakers. As we mentioned, next week, they're back at home. They finished the road trip Saturday in Milwaukee. So that's a 50-50 game. Milwaukee's tough. Who knows what's going to happen there? Then they come home to face the Jazz. That should be a win, right? Should be, air quotes, right? Should be a win. Then they go back and face the Jazz in Utah. Again, should be a win, right? Then they come home against the Clippers. The Clippers have been terrible. There's no Kawhi. Bradley Beal now out for the season with a hip injury. They're old. They're not playing well. That's a very winnable game for the Lakers, despite all the, craziness that happens with the Clippers and, how the Lakers have struggled over the years against them. On paper, that should be a winnable game. Clippers are not a good basketball team. Then home against the Mavs. Again, there's obviously going to be a lot built into that game, right? Nico, the Lakers savior, he's gone. Cooper Flag, the number one pick, he's there. Anthony Davis is hurt. Who knows if he'll play? Hell, who knows if he'll still be on the Mavs a week and a half from now? Who knows, right? But there's obviously going to be a lot tied into that game on and off the court. But Dallas is not a good basketball team, just like the Clippers. On paper, should be a win. Very winnable game. And then they finished the month at home against the Pelicans, a team they just beat pretty comfortably in New Orleans. So that, again, even if Zion plays, Jordan Poole plays, Pelicans, again, not a good team, should be a winnable game. So you look at the rest of the month after they get through Milwaukee, win or lose that game, that's tough. That's really the toughest game they got on the schedule. The Lakers have a really good opportunity. Again, we talked about opportunity. Lakers took advantage of some. They failed to take advantage of some. This is a stretch the rest of this month for the Lakers to really put a little something together. If they can string some defense with that offense, acclimate LeBron back into the swing, they have really have the potential here to win all 5 of these games, or at least, in my opinion, go 4-1, because they're all winnable games, and most of them are at home. There's only one road game. So this is a golden opportunity for the Lakers to go into the month of December when you start to hit that point where you start to figure out, okay, we're 20-something games in. What are we going to do? What are we going to look like? Christmas Day is coming. You start to evaluate your club. Lakers have an opportunity to gain some momentum, maybe put a little ground between them and some of the few teams below, and really finish the month strong with a winning record and hopefully a nice little, maybe winning 4 out of 6, 4 out of 5, that kind of thing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how to finish the road trip. But the opportunity is there for this team. LeBron coming back, favorable schedule the rest of the month to really kind of turn it around and hopefully hone in on some of the deficiencies, particularly on the defensive end. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to remain optimistic despite some of the struggles, despite the bad losses, despite the defense. I'm going to remain optimistic that the Lakers will figure some things out. And of course, Rob, my weekly plea, Lakers need defense. Lakers need athleticism. Come on, baby. Let's make something happen. Give me something. DeRozan, Clay, I don't care. Give me somebody that can make a shot, someone that can play defense, someone that can get up and down the court. Help us out. Help us out, Rob. So, all right. We'll see. Until next week, I'm Anthony, Matter Stats Podcast. We appreciate you listening. Check us out. Like the video. Go to the YouTube channel. And we'll be back next week, hopefully with another great episode and some Laker wins.
podcast.